Something is out there, and NASA is not calling a satellite. Right now, at this very second, something is moving through space just a few thousand miles above your head. It doesn't match any object in any registry. It isn't following the rules of orbital mechanics. And the people whose job it is to track every single thing in near-Earth space are being very, very quiet about it. This story starts with a radar ping, and it ends somewhere you won't expect. Let's be clear about something first. NASA tracks over 27,000 objects in Earth's orbit right now. Old satellites, broken rocket boosters, fragments from collisions that happened decades ago. They know where all of it is, almost to the centimeter. So when something shows up that doesn't match the catalog, something that isn't where it's supposed to be, or worse, something that shouldn't be there at all, it gets flagged. Quietly, internally, away from press releases and Twitter announcements. What we're talking about today has been flagged multiple times by multiple observatories, and the explanation NASA keeps offering doesn't quite hold together when you look at the numbers. Stay with me, because the deeper you go into this, the stranger it gets. It started with routine sky survey. These happen constantly. Automated telescopes scanning millions of square degrees of sky every single night, looking for anything that moves, asteroids, comets, debris. Most of what they find is boring. Most of it. Here's where it gets interesting. When astronomers measure an object trajectory, they're doing physics. Pure, cold, honest math. You look at where something is. You look at where it was. And the laws of gravity tell you exactly where it will be next. Except sometimes it's not there. The object in question, designated with a string of letters and numbers the way they always are, was being tracked on a standard approach path toward Earth's vicinity. Routine stuff. Happens all the time. Then the numbers didn't match. Not by a little. By a margin that made scientists sit up in their chairs. See, when an object changes direction unexpectedly in space, there are really only a few explanations. Outgassing. That's when a comet releases gas jets that push it slightly. Solar radiation pressure. Tiny but measurable over time. Or a gravitational assist from a planet it passed close to. None of those explanations fit this object. Not cleanly. Not completely. One astronomer, speaking anonymously, described the trajectory as non-gravitational. That's a scientific way of saying, we don't have a clean answer. And this wasn't the first time something like this had happened. Think back to 2017. An object blazed through our solar system so fast that it had to have come from somewhere outside it entirely. They called it Oumuamua, Hawaiian for messenger from afar. Harvard astronomer Avi Loeb, one of the most respected astrophysicists alive, went on record saying Oumuamua accelerated in a way that couldn't be explained by any known natural process. He didn't flinch. He didn't walk it back. He said the data pointed to the possibility of artificial origin. Most of his colleagues looked away. That's usually what happens when someone says something true that nobody's ready to hear. Now, here's the part that nobody talks about, and you need to understand this before we go any further. In 1991, a strange object was found orbiting Earth. It moved in an orbit too stable to be a random piece of debris, but had been listed for years as simply 1991 VG. Astronomers debated it. Papers were written. Then, quietly, the debate stopped. The object was reclassified as probable space junk and moved on from. Except there's a problem. The orbital characteristics of 1991 VG didn't match any rocket body that had ever been launched. Every space agency on Earth was asked. None of them claimed it. So what was it? Where did it come from? The honest answer is, nobody knows. And the people whose job it is to know have chosen to classify it as probably man-made and move on, because probably is more comfortable than the alternative. Now, fast forward to today. The object NASA detected near Earth recently, it shares some of those same characteristics. Stable orbit, unusual trajectory history, no clean match in the database. NASA's official position as of now is that the object is likely natural, possibly a near-Earth asteroid that's been captured into a temporary orbit. These do happen. They're called mini-moons, and Earth captures them occasionally for a few months before they drift away. But here's what bothers the researchers who are paying attention. A mini-moon shouldn't be able to sustain this particular orbit for this long without showing the effects of solar radiation on its tumbling. The object isn't tumbling the way a rock would. It's steady, almost unnervingly so. When you point a spectrograph at a natural asteroid, it tells you what it's made of: rock, ice, carbon compounds. The reflection patterns are irregular, messy, like nature tend to be. This object's spectral signature is unusually clean. So let's lay out the possibilities, honestly, without sensationalizing, because the truth here is already strange enough on its own. Theory 1. It's a natural object we just don't fully understand yet. This is the most likely explanation, and we should say that clearly. Space is enormous. We've only cataloged a fraction of what's out there. There are asteroids with metallic compositions that reflect light differently. There are captured objects with unusual spin states. Science doesn't always have neat answers on day one. That's not a cover-up. That's just how discovery works. Theory 2. It's old hardware, ours. There's more human-made debris floating around than most people realize. Rocket stages from the 1960s and 70s are still out there. Some have re-entered strange orbital patterns because of gravitational perturbations over decades. It's messy. It's embarrassing. And sometimes space agencies genuinely lose track of what they launched 50 years ago. Theory 3. It's something else entirely. This is the one people don't want to say out loud. But here's the thing. The scientific community itself has started changing. The Pentagon's UAP task force, Harvard's Galileo project, found it specifically to look for signs of non-human technology in the solar system. The fact that the U.S. government declassified years of radar footage showing objects moving in ways that defy known aerodynamics. The question is no longer, could something like this exist? The question is, what do we do if we actually confirm it? Avi Loeb has said it plainly. If we find a piece of technology from another civilization, it would be the most important discovery in human history. It would rewrite religion, philosophy, science, and politics simultaneously. And there are people who believe that is precisely why confirmation, if it exists, would be managed very, very carefully. Not because of a shadowy conspiracy, but because no government on Earth has a plan for that announcement. No institution does. They would need time. They would need control of the narrative. They would need to be absolutely certain before saying a word, because once you say it, you cannot unsay it. Here's what we know for certain. Something is up there. It was detected. It behaves differently than expected. And the people monitoring it are continuing to monitor it, quietly, carefully, without fanfare. Maybe it's a rock. Maybe it's old junk. Maybe it's something that was built somewhere other than Earth. The honest answer right now is that we don't know. But consider this. For the last 100 years, every time humanity looked at the sky and assumed we understood what was out there, we were wrong. We were wrong about the size of the universe. We were wrong about the number of galaxies. We were wrong about exoplanets. We were wrong about dark matter, dark energy, fast radio bursts, and gravitational waves. Every single time, the universe turned out to be stranger and bigger and more complicated than we thought. So ask yourself, why would this time be any different? The object is still up there, right now, moving in its quiet, steady orbit, waiting or not waiting, because maybe waiting implies a mind just existing, a few thousand miles above every city, every ocean, every sleeping person on this planet. And nobody is telling you what it really is. Subscribe, leave a comment, and look up tonight.